Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast, powered by gamblersWORLD.net and gamblersWORLD.com. I am joined today. I'm Ross Benjamin, by the way, and I'm joined today by my trusted colleagues, Mr. Sean Higgs and Mr. Jesse Schule. All three of us of gamblersWORLD.net, folks. We got some good specials going on at gamblersWORLD.net right now. March Madness for any one of us, $199 will get you the entirety of the college basketball season and college basketball NCAA Tournament, CBI, and NIT. Also, folks, if you buy one of the first four picks, first four being Tuesday and Wednesday games in Dayton in the NCAA Tournament, whatever price you paid, we're going to automatically give you a credit. So if you bought Jesse's pick for $75, just being hypothetical here, then you're going to get $75 whether Jesse wins or loses. So a lot of incentive there to cash in on one of those first four games in Dayton, Ohio tonight and Wednesday. Jesse, how are you, my man?
Not bad, Ross. I took the day off yesterday, tried to get my March Madness card in order, and getting really excited about the games tonight and the tournament moving forward. I just got to get my second win. You know, it's a long grind to get to this part of the year, and I'm ready for the tournament and looking forward to it.
Yeah, you have to take a big exhale at this time of year and move forward, power forward. I mean, yesterday, for example, we put a lot of preparation into our live show. By the way, folks, you can get that live show. If you missed it, you can get it on archive. Just go to our YouTube channel at Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel, that is. And just click on where it says live at the top of the page, and that'll take you to the archives of all our live shows. And you'll see yesterday's show, NCAA Tournament show. We all gave our sleeper picks, our upset picks, our Final Four predictions, and our championship games, championship picks as well. Sean, how are you?
Pretty good. Like Jesse said, we have a whirlwind few days here. We have playing games, NIT, CBI, CIT on the weekend. How about Major League Baseball opening day tomorrow, 6 a.m. Eastern, Dodgers and the Padres? I mean, holy cow. We got a dozen or so, 15 games left of the NBA regular season.
Yeah.
NFL draft. It seems like it was just like August and we're talking about football, and now it's like football's over, basketball's about to end, and it'll be the dog days of summer dragging out first fives.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Jesse about on air. It's like, okay, after the tournament, we finally get to take a deep breath, and it's like, yeah, and then a week later, we're depressed because all the major sports aren't running anymore, except for baseball, which has never been a big seller for any one of us over the years, but it's more so now because it's been legalized across the nation, and local sports books in the past usually, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, you would know this more than anybody else beside myself, is that local sports books a lot of times will close down during baseball season because they just didn't get enough action, and one guy could actually kill you throughout the course of a baseball season. But now, with it being legalized all over, baseball has become more of a hot topic than it used to be during the months between April and October anyway.
Yeah, I can't remember betting some random baseball game in June. Maybe in August when there were some NFL football, preseason football, you might call and ask me, I'd be like, what do you want to do baseball for? I mean, it was just not thought about until the regular sports started up, and then they'd maybe throw it on if you asked about it.
Yeah,
it's crazy when you think about it. Like, that's a long time ago, but think it back,
it's not that long if you really stop and think about it. Because
I mean, holy cow,
it's only been a couple of years since we've got widespread legality across the states, right?
Yeah, but we still had offshore kind of stuff. Like, let's be honest, the people who are just finding legal sports book, they weren't using offshore stuff for having a guy down at the bar before that. So I mean, we were betting baseball in the early 2000s because you could offshore. It was what it was. Just the new people think they just invented the wheel and fire the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, there's a self-righteous portion of people who didn't bet before because it was, like you said, quote unquote, illegal to bet offshore. You capture that audience, and now you're starting to see it advertised all over the networks, sports networks. That is, for the most part, you're seeing celebrities as the front man for some of these sports books. So it's evolved immensely. So compared to even where it was 3 years ago. But Jesse, any thoughts before we get to our picks?
Yeah, I know a lot of guys like to take the summer off. You're not looking at one of them here. I go full into CFL and soccer. And in fact, there is a soccer tournament. I believe it's the European Championships this summer. And every 2 years, it's either the Euros or the World Cup. And that's a real savior for a guy like me, as far as giving me games to bet on and something to really sink my teeth into. I've done well with the soccer and the CFL, and there is a ton of interest. I mean, I know if you're not one of those guys that's into those sports, it's hard to get excited about it, but there's still a big draw for soccer. CFL, not so much, but it doesn't hurt to be diverse and have that in your repertoire as well.
Got the Copa America this summer too, if I'm not mistaken, with the South American countries in the U.S. Is that way? I think that's what it's called. It happens every 4 years.
Not much interest in the Copa. That not a big money maker as far as what we do though.
Okay, yeah, I just figured I mentioned that because the U.S. is involved in it this year, and there might be some more interest here in the States. But again. Jesse, by the way, is in Thailand. He's a trooper. Yesterday, he appeared with us on the live show, and we did it at 1:30 in the afternoon here Eastern time, and it was like 3 a.m. in Thailand or somewhere around that area. And Sean had to poke him once in a while to keep him awake. Jesse, when he gets tired, his cap starts moving up his head, and his hair starts to get a little messed up, and we got to poke him.
The chat wanted more Jesse. They were.
What is Jesse going to talk? Was the popular theme yesterday, folks? Don't forget. And Jesse will give you his famous smash at the end. But it's imperative if you want to see these kinds of shows continue on our network and for our sponsors' sake. Bottom line is, folks, just hit that like button. If you're enjoying what you see, we're helping you out with the information we provide, and you're enjoying the show in general, and you want to see it continue. I mean, we've been going on 3 years, but there's no guarantees in life, and just hit that like button. It goes a long way in checking all those boxes. So, all right, let's get to. We're going to talk the NCAA tournament today, and we did yesterday. We gave out actual predictions, nothing with point spreads involved, but today we are. And right now, we're going to be looking at the Nevada-Dayton game, Oregon and South Carolina, and Drake and Washington State. And we're going to start with Sean here today. Drake and Washington State. Sean, Drake seems to be a popular pick in all the NCAA brackets, and people calling it a upset pick because Drake is the number 10 and Washington State's number 7. But here we are, the number 10 seed. Drake is a 1.5 point favorite here, and the total is 138. Take it away, my friend.
Yeah, it's a 10, and that started. The line is totally flipped. It was 1.5, and it flipped over to the other side. Drake 1.5. And Washington State, I know there was a lot of talk like, oh, look at this. Okay, you beat Arizona twice. You split versus Oregon. Who else have these guys played? And we've seen Arizona kind of lay some eggs. Maybe you should split against the team who's good in your conference, right? I've said that for all teams in all conferences. But I like Drake here. And this goes to you have my underdog conference team, although it is a trendy pick, which is, I don't like seeing a line move on a Sunday to flip it that fast. If it happens later in the week, it'd be one thing. But that just makes me think that the sharper, smarter kind of organized units are moving on, which I like. They lost to UAB by a bucket on the road in overtime, and UAB is a tournament team. Whether they should be here or not, they won when they had a win. Big win over Nevada on a neutral, so they could play with elite teams. And Drake is a mid-major that's not a lowly mid-major. They're a good, solid squad most of the time, And I was on this before it switched. I'm still liking it now. You want to take 1.5? I don't know. I mean, what do you hope they win by 2? Take it on a money line minus 120. It won't be an upset. We talk about Wake Forest storming the court. You're a favorite. It's not an upset. The odds makers think you're a favorite. They're smart people. I'm taking Drake.
Yeah. Trust the odds makers more than you do the pollsters. Trust the odds makers more than those who are seeding these teams in the tournament. And I'm having a little bit of trouble here, guys, I think, with my my video portion here. So I apologize for that. But anyway, so Sean likes Drake minus 120 over Washington State. Jesse, Washington State's one of those teams you watch them and they don't wow you, okay? And I'm starting to think a little bit after watching them over a course of time here down the stretch that they're a beneficiary of playing in a Pac-12 conference that was really, really top-loaded. Not like the Big 12 where anybody could beat anybody for the most part on any given day. There seemed to be only 3 teams made it out of the Pac-12, if I'm not mistaken, in the NCAA tournament. So that speaks volumes into what they thought of the strength of the conference. But anyway, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Washington State's getting a lot of credit for their wins over Arizona. And I think at the end of the day, they were just a bad matchup for Arizona. Arizona didn't match up well against them. They had their number. And, that shouldn't really influence your decision-making in this game. And I am down on the Pac-12, Ross, because I got a Pac-12 team that I'm going to talk about next. And I'm probably going to bet against them as well. But, yeah, I'm all in favor of fading the Pac-12 teams.
All right, so without further ado, let's have you take it. Go ahead. Sure.
You mentioned there are 2 bids. I mean, Oregon was again in here unless they won out. And any team, they weren't getting in. Nobody was getting in besides Washington State. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bad conference.
I think the committee took a lot of heat, and we talked about this yesterday in terms of the teams that got snubbed. But you look at some of these teams that made a run, especially in the power conferences, that weren't slated to be an at-large team. I mean, North Carolina State, New Mexico, and the list goes on. There's like 5 teams that fit in that category. UAB, another team, So, that happens. And the A-10, same thing, Duquesne. So here we are. Anyway, Jesse, I'm going to take it away. Oregon and South Carolina. This looks like a very intriguing matchup. Oregon got healthy down the stretch, Jesse, and they started to play up to the capability of the team that everybody projected they would be in the Pac-12 anyway. South Carolina, they got lambasted by Auburn in the SEC tournament for the second time. It's just it seems like playing Auburn was just a bad matchup for them because they've had an outstanding year other than that. But right now, South Carolina is a 1.5 point favorite. The total is 132.5. Who do you like here?
Well, Ross, you said playing Auburn's a bad matchup for them. I think playing Auburn's a bad matchup for a lot of teams right now, to be honest with you. Auburn's a pretty damn good team. I'm not sure that Oregon, Oregon's got that win over Arizona in the conference tournament, but South Carolina playing in the SEC, it's like they're playing Arizona every second night. They've got wins over Tennessee and Kentucky. They finished ahead of Kentucky and Alabama in the conference standings. They were number 1 in the SEC in opponents' scoring average, allowing just 67 points per game, which is quite impressive considering how many teams in that conference have high-powered offenses. I wanted to do some digging into how teams fare in Oregon's situation, where Sean alluded to the fact that they're not supposed to be here. The only reason they're here is they won a bunch of games in their conference tournament. And how do teams like that fare? Because it seems to me like you have to use up a lot of whatever you got, whatever you want to call it, juice, energy, mojo, luck, whatever it is. You use up a ton of that just to get here. Now you're here. Do you suffer a letdown? What I could come up with was Virginia Tech in 2022 won the ACC tournament in a sort of similar situation. They weren't going to get a sniff of the NCAA tournament if they didn't win the conference tournament, and they lost their first round matchup to Texas. And I had a look at 16 seeds that since 1995, 16 seeds that get into the tournament with a 500 record or worse. So these are teams that, and this isn't, Oregon doesn't directly compare here because Oregon had a solid winning record, but teams that weren't good and ended up winning their conference tournaments and sneaking into the NCAAs, 0-25 since 1995. And, South Carolina, a lot of people are lining up to bet against this team. They can't be as good as they look. They can't be as good as they look, but they've got a great ATS record. They've beaten a lot of good teams. Their record is a lot more impressive than Oregon's to me. If this game was prior to Oregon winning the conference tournament, if you had a neutral site game between these teams, I'd say South Carolina, 5.5 point favorite maybe. Now we got a neutral site game after Oregon's had a few wins where, like I say, they might have spent whatever they have. They might have spent a lot of it getting here. And I'll go with a team that's solid defensively with a solid resume that's been playing monsters all year. And yeah, they've lost a few games to Auburn and Alabama, but they've beaten teams like Tennessee and Kentucky. So my money will be on South Carolina because I just think they're the better team.
South Carolina money line, right, Jesse?
You betcha.
South Carolina minus 120 on the money line over Oregon. And again, Sean likes Drake minus 120 on the money line over Washington State. All right, in terms of South Carolina, again, we go back to power of conference or strength of conference, I should say. And you look at the SEC from top to bottom, and you look at the Pac-12 from top to bottom. No comparison, Sean. I mean, it's the SEC clearly the better conference top to bottom. And, Jesse brings up a good point, Sean, about the physicality and the emotional aspect you spend when you win 4 games in 4 days, or like NC State, which was unprecedented and was only done one other time, where a team won 5 games in 5 days to advance. But people don't realize, I mean, I'm going to use our industry, for example. These kids are anywhere from 18 to 21 years old, in that range for the most part. And when it comes to physical aspect of the game, they're not an NBA that's playing 82 games and sometimes 4 to 5 games in a week. They're playing at the most 3 times a week. And they should be in great shape. And the physicality of playing 5 days ago where you had to play 4 and 4, I don't think that is as much a factor as the mental aspect. And why I compare it to our industry is because you guys have probably been told this before. You spend 10 hours a day in front of a computer and come upstairs and tell somebody you're tired, or leave the office and come home and tell somebody you're tired. And they're saying, but what did you do physically to get so tired? Emotionally, sometimes it's people don't realize the emotional stress sometimes could take a lot of energy out of you more than the physical stress. But anyway, Sean, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a back-to-back spot. Well, you're 20 years old. I mean, as unfit kids running around, we used to play every day. So I think at that level, unless you're playing at an Alabama breakneck kind of pace where your legs might go in the spot if you're playing 4 in a row. Otherwise, whatever. But the mental aspect of we're drained. We did everything we could to just get here. Now we got to pull ourselves back up and go at it again. Versus a team that we've said all year, zero respect for a team that has 25 wins, 26 wins. They beat the Kentucky. They beat the Tennessees. They beat Florida's good programs. Like, you want to make fun of Ole Miss or Mississippi State? They're still 20-win team. I mean, the Pac-12 was a horrendous conference this year.
Yeah.
And the only reason Washington State's got in is because they beat Arizona twice. They beat them once, man, maybe to get in, because they. And you look at the matchup with the Pac-12. They gave Washington State Drake. Every other big school gets like some kind of cupcake. Oh, Gonzaga. Oh, here you go. We'll give you with a McNeese, like some kind of team that you want to take as a dog, but it's not a battle. They don't care about the Pac-12. I mean, they know it's a joke, and it's abolished anyway. Man, I'm with Jesse though on South Carolina. They play defense. They've been good all year. They didn't need some kind of run. Sometimes the team has your number. Washington State got Arizona. Northwestern takes care of Purdue most of the time, or battles them to the bitter end. Sometimes you got a bad matchup.
Yeah. And the thing I guess some of the pundits will say is that, but Oregon wasn't healthy all year. When they got healthy, look what they did. And there's a degree of truth to that, Jesse, but at the end of the day, this is a South Carolina team that, like Jesse alluded to, people have been just picking on them all year long. I was one of those because my biggest doubt when it came to South Carolina is they got this nice record in non-conference play. And I thought that they were a little overvalued or overrated because of their non-conference schedule and the record that they accumulated during that time, because their non-conference schedule was one of the weakest in the country when it comes to power conference teams. However, they go into the SEC and they continue to win in a real good conference. I talked about somebody else yesterday, Sean. Maybe you remember a team that people were doubting their non-conference portion of the schedule. I said, yeah, but then it was a Big 12 team. Then they went into the Big 12 and they continued to win. And I think there's comparables when you talk about South Carolina in that. But Jesse, any final thoughts on what me and Sean had to say about your game?
Kentucky and Alabama and Florida are all favorites in their matchups, and South Carolina gets no respect. So I will certainly take South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina. I agree with both Sean and Jesse on that one. I agree with Sean on Drake. And let me get to my game, and then we'll sew things up here for you guys. Nevada and Dayton, another intriguing matchup. Right now, Nevada is a 1-point favorite, and the total in this game is 136.5. This game goes on Thursday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a West Region game in Salt Lake City, which the location should heavily favor Nevada when it comes to that in terms of their fan base traveling. But Dayton has a strong fan base. It's just, look, they got to cry. The bottom line is they have to travel across the country. So history will show that teams that usually travel real good, when you're asking them to go again across 3 time zones, don't do quite as well in that regard. Now, having said all that, I don't care about that because my concentration here is on the total. And this is a Dayton team that's gone 6-0 to the over. 5-0 to the over in their last 5 when the total's been 135 or more. Why do I bring that up? Because the majority of Dayton's totals early on were very low. And then near the end of the year, they started to play a lot more overs. And even when they raised their total up to 135 or greater, again, their last 5 in that situation, 5-0 to the over. And not only that, those games averaged a combined 162.8 points per contest. As a matter of fact, Nevada is 6-0 to the over in their last 6 overall, regardless of the total, with 149 points being scored per game. Nevada, on the other hand, over their last 5 games, 76 points per game, 48% shooting. And what really sticks out to me over the last 5 is they shot just a shade under 44% from the 3-point line, which is outstanding. And that other thing we talked about yesterday, free throws, okay? You got to factor in teams' ability to knock down free throws and go one step farther sometime and say, what's the volume of free throws or the regularity that a team gets to the free throw line? And Nevada, over their last 5 games, has averaged 26 free throw attempts per contest. And that's great. I mean, that's very high by college basketball standards. But even more impressive is they knocked 77% of those free throws down, which still doesn't live up to Sean Higgs standards, but we'll take 77%. Dayton, over the last 5, 80 points per game they've scored, shot just a shade under 50%. Talk about 3-point shooting, 45.2%. from the 3-point line over their last 5. And how about the free throw line? Well, Sean, again, they fall short of your expectations, but me and Jesse will take 77.1%. And Nevada, number 40 in terms of adjusted offensive efficiency at KenPom out of 362 teams. Number 34 in their 3-point shooting. Number 3 nationally in free throw attempts. I already covered that. And he scored 74 or more their last 7. Dayton, not too bad himself at KenPom. Number 18 offensively. Number 3 nationally in 3-point shooting. So these teams could both knock down threes. They're both good at the free throw line. Neither plays at a fast pace, but they're very efficient on the offensive side. I'm going to take a shot here with Dayton and Nevada to go over 136.5. Sean?
I got Nevada in a quasi-home game, right? This is what, like a 2-hour drive?
Yeah.
I have 2 mid-major conferences. I got one that has 6 bids, another one that has 2 because a team came in and stole one from somebody else, and a Dayton team whose best win is a neutral site win over St. John's, who's griping about making the tournament because they started so badly, and they were favored in that game anyway. How is this team even a top 25 team to start? Like, who did you beat? I'll tell you, nobody. And I like Richmond. I like Richmond getting, I think they get 6 or 7 in the NIT, whatever, against Virginia Tech. Sure. I don't even know. How are these guys getting a pass for even making the tournament? Give me Nevada.
Yeah, Nevada is to me. I have a pick in this game, so I am not going to elaborate further on the side with Jesse. Anyway.
I'm just trying to figure out who you got, Ross.
Uh-oh, here comes the cat. All right, Jesse. So the free throw shooting, it's pretty good by our standards. Mr. Higgs didn't comment on that, as you noticed. But anyway, my pick and what Sean had to say. Any thoughts?
Okay, a follow-up on what we talked about in the live show yesterday. I said that I'm loading up on unders in this tournament. So you're taking the over in this game. I got to just disagree. I'm leaning under in almost every game, and that we discussed why. And you had asked me, you mentioned that I say I don't blindly follow trends, and I've said that several times in reference to trends such as unranked home teams that are favored against ranked opponents, because in such cases, it really matters who the teams are. You can't just say, well, this team's unranked and then compare them to another team, because that other team could be completely different. But when you're talking about totals, I can blindly follow trends in some cases, because the implications of how many points are going to be scored, it doesn't really matter who the teams are. And one of the examples of this will be Game 7s in the NBA playoffs. Yeah. I don't care who's playing in the NBA playoffs. If it's a Game 7, every bucket is like a battle to the death, every possession.
And the facts will back that, right, Jesse? If you look at the
numbers are just so consistent. I mean, you can shave at least 10 points off your average total just for the fact that it's a Game 7. And it's not as dramatic in the NCAA tournament in the first round, but there are similar trends that will tell us that certainly over the last, in my lifetime and over the last 5 years, that there's more unders than overs in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And, I look at Dayton, and I acknowledge what you said, Ross. They've been going over. They can score a ton of points. They still play at a slow pace, though. They still rank 347th nationally in pace of play, and Nevada is still the second best defensive team in the Mountain West. So I'm banking on the script to flip back to all of a sudden we're in that sort of Game 7 type. It's an elimination game. That's why Game 7s are low score. That's why we see that trend that we all can acknowledge and agree with in Game 7s, is because it's an elimination game, and these tournament games are elimination games. Therefore, I won't be playing many overs. I'll be really stocking up on unders in the first round.
All good points, but I'm going to say that I'm going to go out on a limb and say this game's going to be a lot closer to 150 than 136. So We'll see. And Jesse, you make good points. I mean, I agree with you on the game sevens. I'll also go one step further. Conference tournament championship games, high degree of unders in those. The NCAA tournament finals over the years, you're going to go under a lot more than you go over. So games that are, how could I put it, high magnitude games, usually teams are a little bit tighter, and the focus on the defensive end of the floor seems to ratchet up. Sean?
Agreed. What's there to say?
Okay.
Defense. Everybody's going to play tighter. It's elimination. I don't want to make a mistake. There's always a little bit of hesitation. I agree.
All right. So our picks. Jesse likes South Carolina minus 120 over Oregon. Sean likes Drake minus 120 over Washington State. And yours truly likes the Nevada and Dayton game over 136.5. So we'll see where we go from there, folks. We're going to knock them dead for you during this NCAA tournament, NIT, and CBI. So with all that being said, you go to gamblersworld.net right now. Any three of us, you can get our March Madness package for $199, and we guarantee that because it's 30 days or fewer. And if you don't win, you don't make a profit, we will credit your account back the exact amount of your purchase price. Remember, there's 2 NCAA tournament games today and 2 tomorrow. In Dayton, it's the first 4. If you purchase any of those games from any of the handicappers, you will get an automatic credit for the exact amount you paid for that pick. So win or lose. So there's some incentive for you to get not only get your NCAA tournaments off to a great start, but also gather some money up for credit for future picks in the NCAA tournament from any one of us. Jesse, there's a like button underneath.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button, folks. It's just a small token of appreciation for the time, work, and effort we put into bringing you a quality podcast each and every day on this channel, 5 times a week. And also, folks, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. It's absolutely free. There's no strings attached. There's no hidden agenda, folks. Click on that subscribe button. It's another way to show your appreciation for the work we do here and you telling us that you like what you see on our channel. And if you've already subscribed or you're new to subscribe, go into your YouTube settings and click on that alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our future podcasts going up on our channel. And again, that's 5 days a week. Don't forget, Friday we're live with us 3. I will be back with these 2 gentlemen tomorrow. We'll be discussing more NCAA tournament action, and look forward to that. But until the next time, for Jesse, Schule, Sean Higgs, and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless, folks.